Welcome. This is Mark, and I'm having tea with Margaret. And actually, tonight I'm having a vanilla Rubio's tea, and actually, it's my favorite tea right now. So, Margaret, would you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
I would love to. I have my little cup of tea here tonight. Margaret Ann Lembo. I am the author of a number of books: the Chakra Awakening, the Essential Guide to Crystals, Minerals, and Stones, Color Your Life with Crystals, the Angel Gemstone Oracle cards, and I'm the owner of the Crystal Garden, which is a gift store, bookstore, and spiritual center here in South Florida for the past 27 years. So that sums it up. That's probably a good sum up.
That's amazing stuff, Margaret. And, before we started, we had talked about divine. And can you elaborate how what divine means to you?
Sure. I connect with the divine as the universal life force or the ever present, over the top, auspicious energy that is available to every single one of us here on planet Earth. And so we each, and even when we're not on planet Earth, so when we are wanting to align with higher consciousness, I often use that phrase, align with the divine. What
Now,
about
you
you?
and we also talked about inner vision. And how is inner vision relevant to yourself?
Well, inner vision encompasses a number of things. For me, it also has to do with the connection to all six clairs: clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance, clairsentience, clairolfaction, and clairgustation. And what I have found is that inner vision is not just the ability to see with inner sight, but it's the ability to read between the lines, to hear inner voice, that still small voice within. It's also that gift of knowing or perhaps feeling. And so it's a more than just literally inner vision in the literal sense. It's much more.
And one more thing we talked about was wind. And how do you connect to wind?
Wind. How do I connect to wind?
Yes.
Well, wind brings back a very good memory for me. Because when I was a little girl, I grew up in the summer times in a place up in New York. In the summers, we spent in Breezy Point. And so I always found the wind as a comfort, and that it would also clear my energy. Breezy Point obviously is, well, maybe not so obviously, but it's a very windy place. It's a peninsula that juts out of Queens. Anyway, so wind energy also has the vibration to be able to clear space, to clear energy.
So, Margaret, I met with you and I went to your store a few times and I really like it. And you share with me a very good story about how you get started. Can you share that to the audience? How you get started and what you do?
Sure, sure. I'm happy to. The when I was the first uh, the first realization that I had to open a gift store, bookstore, and spiritual center was much more that I didn't really even know what I was doing. I really had no intention to do that. It evolved because of the stock market crash of 1987. I was a mortgage banker, a very lucrative mortgage banker. And when the stock market crashed in 87, my personal world shifted and changed so drastically that I ended up having, like, I would say, a dark night of the soul moment in my life. And through divine inspiration, I had the realization that it was time to try out having a gift store, just give it a go. And so I had blessings in my life to be able to use a piece of property, open the store. And I really thought I was just doing this in the meantime. And then all of that led to actually what it is today. I had no idea that I was going to turn into a metaphysical center. I didn't open the store with that intention. My intention was to be able to bring blessings to others through them coming in, finding really cool stuff, and then having some kind of a sense of a good sense of scent in the air. I didn't know I was going to become an aromatherapist, although I had been playing with aromatherapy for quite a long time. And so it just kind of evolved over time, and people started coming in and asking to do workshops. And before I knew it, I was doing workshops. So it became a spiritual center as well as a gift store and bookstore. That's the short version.
Amazing stuff. I mean, you're doing really great so far. And one thing that, I want to ask you about also is because you went from one place to another, right? So there's some degree of inner knowledge and spiritual guidance that you had to attach to. Can you talk about this process?
Now, when you say I went from one place to another, you mean when I left the mortgage banking industry and went into spirituality?
Yes.
I want to back up and let you know that I grew up in a very metaphysical household. I didn't know that it was called metaphysical, but I grew up in an environment where I realized that it was normal for us to interpret dreams and to discuss the astrology, to my mom taught me telepathy at a young age. So what was exactly your question, Mark? What did you want me to explain?
Well, you were a mortgage broker and then you went into, having this crystal store and being into metaphysics. So you had some kind of inner truth or spiritual guidance.
Right. I was a mortgage banker.
You always had your whole entire life.
Yeah, I pretty much had that all the time. And I had been studying and working with spirituality with the Association of Research and Enlightenment, the ARE, as with Edgar Casey's association. So, I think the transition was normal because of we had just gotten crystals and gemstones. When I first opened the store, I had a business partner, and I was part of a little tiny company that was buying crystals in Arkansas.
I'm very into crystals myself as well, and one thing that I find is the attraction to the energy to crystals. So when you work with crystals, what are the color meanings that, the crystals present?
Well, a lot of the color associations have to do with the chakra system. And so what I associate it with is when we look at the chakra system of the human energy field, which is the energetics of the mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional levels, we have this definition of what each chakra is about. And with that definition, that also defines what color is about. So red energy and red stones often have to do with having more vitality or taking action or being grounded, where orange energy would be more related to, and in fact, I'm holding right now a carnelian, and that's the navel or sacral chakra, and that's a lot about creativity and being fertile with great ideas. At the solar plexus level, my rocks are rolling here. Rocking and rolling. I don't think I have a citrine here, but citrine or a yellow gemstone is really good for the benefit of self-confidence and courage. This is a piece of prehnite. And so this prehnite heart, it would be really good at the solar plexus level for self-confidence and courage, and even digesting life, digesting all that's going on around you. And at the let's see, heart chakra level, I have all these rocks next to me. At the heart chakra level, we could use kunzite or rose quartz. This is a rose quartz heart, and here's a piece of kunzite. This is a really high quality piece of kunzite. It's very pretty.
That's a nice one.
In fact, my newest gemstone at the heart chakra level that I just got in my last batch is malachite. That's a really nice gemstone.
That's a beautiful one.
Isn't it? This one is really nice. I really like it. I like it on the back
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
And this, those stones, green and pink stones, are really good for opening your heart to love, connecting with the divine from a heartfelt space. And we are, our true nature is love. In fact, in chapter 5 of my book, Chakra Awakening, I write this one statement that I'd like to share right now. So I'm just going to take a moment to flip. Here we go. So this is in my book, Chakra Awakening. And the very first chapter, the very first sentence, I mean, in chapter 5 says, this is the heart chakra. You are love. Your true essence is love. Be aware that you are love in all you do, say, think, feel, smell, taste, or know, and you will be happy and healthy all the days of your life. And so I recommend that at all that we can do to stay focused on our heart and love, then we can have a happy life. So green and pink help us with that. At the throat chakra level, I would use a blue stone or blue colors like aquamarine, which is right here, and or like a blue stone like celestite. And those stones are, and pastel blue is really good for communication and expressing and making sure that people can hear or understand what you're saying, but also that you're a good listener and that you're really paying attention when somebody else is speaking and really listening to what they're saying. And then at the third eye center, connecting with like indigo or purple stones like amethyst, that purple energy. And in the third eye center from the throat, the third eye, and the crown chakra area, this is all the space that we're all connected with the divine. You asked about the divine. And so that whole energy of the divine is these up, this little upper three chakra area. And then the crown chakra, mostly the white stones. And under here, under my laptop, I have a nice point right here. This one happens to be a time link crystal.
Hmm.
So that's also the connection with all that is, and which is another way of saying the divine. So that's my sum up of the chakras and the colors. Does that give you enough?
That is awesome. And one thing I want to ask you about, and I think that this really relates to a lot of what we're talking about and spirituality, but truthful communication, speaking the truth. Because a lot of times I think that people, they have like an inner feeling about who they actually are, but on the outside, they're not actually portraying that. So how is, truthful communication beneficial to others?
Well, it's beneficial to ourselves and to others. Being true to oneself is beyond belief. That's like what we, I would say that's what we really have to, well, we don't have to do anything, but I would recommend that we align with that, our true nature. The reason it's beneficial for others is when we step into all that we are meant to be and do, especially if we have even glimpses of it flashing around in front of us. And you and I have spoken about this a little. It's when we know we have a purpose and that we know we're supposed to be doing something, we kind of miss the boat or our gifted opportunity that we have here on this planet. And then we're not serving humanity if we don't do what we're meant to do. So whether it's being a builder or a spiritual facilitator or an IT guy or a nun, like there's such a range. We all have a purpose. We all serve a purpose. Everybody does. So it's a matter of living in our truth. And when we live in our truth, we end up really helping and being of service to everybody that is, that we interact with. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Good.
And one thing that, has, come up also is, purpose, and purpose is very important for, I think, for people in their lives to live their purpose.
Yes.
So how can you, explain somebody, how you went about living your purpose?
Wow. That would be how I went about living my purpose.
Yes.
Um, that's a little bit of a tough question. I think that my purpose is continuing to evolve. I think, and that's true. I think for everyone. So as I had realizations in my life of things that I was supposed to do or be. Then I would do my best to have the courage. That's a biggie, to have the courage to shine my light and do and be what I knew I was meant to do. Here's an example. So when I knew that I was supposed to write a book and help as many people as possible through writing a book, I guess it was just a matter of that I just dedicated my time and energy to allowing the messages, the stories to come through from an authentic space. In other words, let's say I was struggling with emotional challenges and I personally was having that challenge. And then I would do prayer work around that, not for the purpose of writing the book, but more for the purpose of awakening my own spiritual connection and getting the answers from within. And so what I felt like when I was getting those realizations is that the information was coming through for me personally. And then I thought, because of my platform with my store, I thought, well, if I'm having these issues, how many other people that I interact with or that I know, how many people are having similar issues? And so I started writing essays or little newsletter articles, if you will, for my Crystal Garden newsletter, for the newsletter that I used to mail them out back in the day. We used to mail them to people's homes. And over time, people would come to me and they'd say to me, I want to buy your book, Margaret. And I say, I don't have a book. I don't have a book. And then so over time, the same thing happened with my CDs when I first, before I published my CDs, people at the end of class, this is how far back this goes, they'd say, I want to buy a cassette, because back then it was a cassette. I want to buy a cassette with that meditation you did tonight in the workshop. Can I buy that? And I said, well, I don't have a cassette. And they're like, well, when are you going to make a cassette? When are you going to make a recording, let's say? And so finally, it was more like I would put that vibration out there. I'd say, okay, Goddess creator, if you want me to be a messenger for this information, then first of all, give me the courage to do it, but also send the ways and the means to do it. Like, so send me somebody that can record my voice. Send me somebody who knows how to mix the music in the background. Send me the place that I need to go and record it. When it was time to write, I would also do that too. It's like, okay, universe, help me to magnetize to me the right editor, because I had an editor that I worked with, my very first one. She actually came here, right here to this house, and sat with me at this desk that I'm at right now. And we went page by page by page, and we went through my manuscript, and she taught me about developmental editing and all that. She's very good. And now I have a different editor now who's amazing. But the point is like, we have to decide what we want, put our attention on that, especially if we get a hit that was supposed to do it. That's the thing. If we feel like we're supposed to do it. This is a message for you too. Did you get that?
Yes. It's inner knowledge, right? Inner and self-knowledge.
It is inner and self-knowledge. And in the beginning, I used to think, well, who do I think I am that I should know this stuff? What makes me so smarty pants? You know, how do I know this? And people even used to say to me, how do you know that? I'm like, I don't know how I know it. I just know it, you know? And so over time, through some regression therapy, when I was training to do regression therapy, I took a lot. Let me rephrase that. I experienced many personal regressions for my overall well-being and for my spiritual development. And one of them helped me to realize that I was supposed to step into this to do this work. So that's what I did. I followed through and I got the information and the insights and went from there.
Margaret, I have a question to ask you.
Okay.
And you talk about the chakras, right?
Yes.
And I think there's emphasis, and I'm thinking, the third eye chakra and the throat chakra and the heart chakra. I think, are these three like key chakras that people, are not really aware of to connect with? Because I think that these three chakras can really help one person get like that inner knowledge, or self knowledge. Is that a correct assessment?
I think it's really balanced, the balance of all of them. I can see where you're going at with what you're saying, because the heart center is being connected with divine love. The throat chakra is being able to hear the divine messages coming through, as well as being able to express what you are hearing, sensing, feeling, or knowing. And the third eye center is like the seat of the information coming in, and that's back in the middle of the brain, actually, by the pituitary pineal. But in this time that I've been, doing this work and doing a lot of sessions with, private sessions with clients, I realize that more often than not, people really need to ground themselves to be able to stay focused on tasks. So that's more of a root chakra thing. They need to often find the motivation or the uh, courage to do what they have to do, which could be on a more navel or sacral chakra level, the orange vibration. And they often need to have the self confidence and self esteem so they can get over to, like, who do I think I am to be doing this or saying this? That self esteem is at the solar plexus level. So I think they're sort of all equally important. At this point in my evolution, I feel like it's about balancing all of the chakras and keeping them all working together as a team. Just like at work, when we have a great team to work with and we're all in respect for each other, we have fun together, we harmonize, we have a much better business and a much better go of it. And the same thing I think is true when we have a chakra system or energy centers that are in balance.
So the chakras all working together in a team, and if there's imbalance in chakras, what's happening is that there's an imbalance in one's life. Is that a correct assessment?
A lot of times that's true, yeah. And I don't know, it's more like we're out of balance, which creates the out of balance condition in the chakra. Chicken or the egg, not sure which comes first. So I think it might be more that we get pulled off target in whatever aspect, and that's maybe what puts that energy center out of balance, or it's a way of defining, gaining clarity, having an awakening of, oh, I see that maybe it's because of my fear of communicating my truth, that, which is throat and solar plexus. Maybe that's, then you have the realization of why that's evolving. Did that just make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if somebody is not aware of the chakra and they're kind of like at a place in life where stuff just happens to them and they're not sure why, and they're just going through life and they're not happy, how can you help someone like this?
Well, you just gave me a lot of right there. So things don't happen to us. We, on consciously or unconsciously, are creating our reality based on our thoughts and belief systems. So we may feel like, and I've had situations where a client will come and say, I don't know why this is happening to me. How did I get to this point? And I will, with love, say, well, what were you thinking? What were you focused on? What do you believe? And so sometimes it has to do with, things that were like belief systems that were installed in our consciousness. Sometimes someone that we respected as an authority figure in our life, who were probably doing the best that they could do. This is not saying it's somebody else's fault, because it's not, you know. But they could, we could say that pulled us down. I'll tell a quick example on that one. When I was maybe in 5th or 6th grade, maybe 3rd grade actually, I was doing my homework at the dining room table. We would often use the dining room table to sit and do our homework. My father came home from work, and he was emptying his pockets and hanging. I lived in New York. He was hanging his coat up and took his hat off and was doing all that. And I said, Daddy, this homework, this math is so hard. And he said, well, Margaret Ann, if you can't do math, you'll never be a banker. I'm like, and he was on the board of a loan and appraisal committee. So what did I do? I wasn't one that would say, oh no, I'm not good enough. Instead, I'm like, really? Watch me. And so when I left the mortgage banking industry, I was a senior vice president running my own division. So it depends on how we decide to approach these things. So things don't happen to us. We make a decision as to how we're going to react or take action. It may get us down for a little while, and that's okay. That's normal. That's human. But then we, the old proverbial, pull ourselves up from by our bootstraps and get on with it. You know, it's like, okay, I'll show you. Watch this. You know.
I just want to say, Margaret, this has been a fantastic experience.
Aww.
And I really like your energy. I really like you as a person. You're very positive, and it comes out like in your talking, in your presentation. You're just a very positive, warm, open person, and it's really fantastic. I'm really grateful to have you on the show. It's really a great opportunity. I'm very happy for this, and I just want to, ask you a question, and because there's people out there that are probably watching the show right now, or they could be watching it, in the future. They could be watching, a day from now, a week from now, maybe a month from now, a year from now. It could be someone that you know. It could be someone you don't know, a total stranger, But what do you tell someone? Someone you probably don't know, someone you do know, that is just in a place in life where they're just not happy. And they have anxiety. They want to do something with themselves. They're in a job that, is going nowhere. And maybe they have a gift, but they're not aware of it. What advice would you give someone that you could take from your life experience and just tell somebody?
I would say that made me sad listening to that. Could you tell my facial expression and everything? I really shifted. I guess first, I think we first have to just understand what the problem is. Like, what's the source? When did this start? Why did this start happening? It's a very big question that you asked, and it's very individualized for each person. But on a very general scale, is first determining what's the underlying cause. It could have started when they were 4 years old. A switch might have flipped when they were 4 because of a particular circumstance. Or maybe it was something somebody said to them when they were 15, or something that they took to heart, and it really wasn't meant to be that way. But the bottom line is to get to the source of what's making them unhappy. Then for people who say they don't know what they're supposed to do with their lives, and there are people that do feel that way. I think on some level they might really do know, and they're afraid of their own magnificence to shine their light brightly. It is about courage. It's the courage to be and do. So we can say, no, I can't do that. It's like, you can't, or you don't feel like it. It's like, you can't, or you don't think you know how, because we always know how. There's good old YouTube University if you want to find an answer to something. We're blessed now with technology in that regard. There's always, the information is always at our fingertips. And before technology, we used to go to the library, and I used to sit with piles of books to figure things out. I'd be surrounded by big textbooks. So it's just a matter of, we have to decide on something. And one thing that I learned, I think, from both my parents was it's better to do something than nothing. It's better to get started with something, because you may think, like, I just thought I was opening a cool gift store. I just thought it was a cool gift store. People would walk in the door. It would smell pretty, which it does. So all those things really are true to this day, right? It smells really nice when you walk in the store. and that they should feel better when they leave. For some reason, that they feel much happier when they leave the store than when they came in. That's all I knew. Have cool stuff, you know, have little pretty pottery. Back in the day, I wanted cute pottery. I wanted incense, you know, but I had no idea that it was going to evolve into me becoming an author. Not at that point. I had no idea that I was going to become and be considered an expert on gemstones. I didn't know that I was supposed to do what I was practiced my whole life, is just the power of positive thought. That I was taught from a very young age, maybe 4, 5, 6. You know, I started reading as soon as I was old enough to read, like The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. I was had that ingrained in my consciousness. So my point is I didn't know then that what I'm going to do now. But when we practice, you know, they say it takes 10,000 hours or 10 years to become an overnight success. An overnight success, I was teaching all my stuffed animals with the Bible in my hands. It was like, I'm not a Bible person today at all. And I wasn't even then, you know. It was just that I knew I was supposed to be some kind of a spiritual teacher or a leader, but it didn't register literally like that when I was, you know, teaching my dolls and my stuffed animals. Now I look back and it's like, wow, on some level I knew. Just like, well, I remember my brother used to have what are those? It's the sets that they were metal and you put together and you can make model buildings and stuff. Rector sets.
Right.
He used to build skyscrapers in our basement using the Rector sets, you know, only at scale. And now we build skyscrapers in Manhattan. We know on some level what we're supposed to do when we're little.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It is.
That's fantastic. That really is. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to share an affirmation which pretty much ties everything together. And what I'd like you to do is to elaborate, because I think that everything we're talking about really ties into what this affirmation actually says. Okay. So let me read this to you. Read a couple times, and then share about the meaning of it as it relates to you. Okay. So it says, I claim the sovereignty and power of my highest self and align myself with my highest truth. I'll say it again. I claim the sovereignty and power of my highest self and align myself with my highest truth.
And so you want me to relate what that means in my life?
Yes.
Personally.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, when I align with my highest power, to that innate knowledge, wisdom, truth, it is basically practicing to the best of my ability, because I'm human, so I, you know, falter here or there, being as loving as possible, you know, to try to stay focused on love. If I falter and maybe get cranky at someone, or maybe I'm too short with someone, then as soon as I realize it, the sooner that I can realize those little falling off from the divine love vibration, is like to apologize and say, oh, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't hurt your feelings. I was cranky when I first got here, or whatever, you know, is to just always try to always come from that place of love. I'm not always the smiley girl. You see me most of the time, smiley woman and happy and joyful. I'm human. I'm very human. We all are. And that's not an excuse. It's just the way it is on planet Earth. So it's as much as, even though we may claim that, and that's who we truly are, we may still fall off a little here, we may fall off a little there, but the faster that we recognize that and reshift and realign with the divine, then the better it is for ourselves personally and our path here on the planet, and the better it is for other people too, because then people who may respect us can see, oh, she's human too. But she recovered pretty quickly when she, you know, fell off a little bit. And then that also becomes a model, not because we're intending to become a model, but it does become a model of, we're human and we can just realign back to our highest power and to divine love. Wow, I hope that just made sense.
That made total sense.
Good.
I totally got it, and I connected with it.
Good.
That was great, Margaret. It's been really great having you on.
Thank
We had
you.
a little technical difficulties in the beginning. I do apologize for that, but you smiled the whole time. You were very positive, and I really like that. You know, you bared with it. So we're gonna sign off, and would you like to say any closing words, everybody?
I'd like to reiterate this. This is similar to what I said when I read from my book, but it's one of my favorite affirmations that helps me um, to be feel okay, no matter what it is, whether it's traffic, whether it's concern about something. So I think and say, I am love. All that is attracted to me and all that surrounds me is love.
Well, thank you very much, Margaret, for being on my show, Tea With. It was a pleasure having you, and I look forward to seeing you in the near future. So have a good night.
You too. Thank you so much.